Okay, so far in the last lectures, we looked at quantifiers, the universal quantifier, which would stand for all, every, but similar, it would also stand for none, and existential quantifier, which stands for some. And so far, the example that I showed you used one or the other. Let me now go into a more complicated type of formulas, the one that use both kinds of quantifiers. We could mix them in formulas, but here we need to pay attention in which order we introduce them. So usually this lecture falls around Valentine's Day, so don't be surprised if you see a lot of Valentine's Day themed examples. Let's do it. Let's look at the Valentine's Day predicate, which is loves x, y, which is true when x loves y. And the main would be just people. Here are 4 sentences that you could make with using one existential quantifier and one universal quantifier. And all of those sentences mean something different. So let's go over them. So the first one is, let's put in universal quantifier on x and an existential quantifier on the y. And we get a sentence that says, everybody loves somebody. For every x, there is some y such that x loves that y. This is kind of a common scenario. You would imagine people in general would kind of satisfy this formula. Everybody loves somebody. Now let's try looking at the same sentence, but with the order of quantifiers flipped. So now instead of saying for all x there exists a y, let's say there exists x. For all y loves x, y. And we get something completely different. We get somebody, x, loves everybody, y. Well, this one is hard to come up with an example. Let's say the sun is shining on everybody, sun loves everybody. That's about as close as I could get to somebody who loves everybody. Well, not everybody is a sun, but, everybody loves somebody. 2 sentences, the only difference is the order of quantifiers, and you get vastly different meaning. So let's try 2 more sentences. And now what we will do is to exchange the role of x and y. Now it's y who loves, and x is the one who is being loved. And again, we get 2 completely different sentences. For all x, there exists y loves yx, tells us that everybody is loved by somebody. So no matter what person you picked, there is somebody who loves them. You know what? That's probably their mother. It's much harder again to find an example of somebody who is loved by everybody. I googled up Elvis. You could give me other suggestions, but that's a tough one to make. So here are 4 scenarios. The only difference is the order of quantifiers, the order of the variables. You get completely different meanings, you get completely different people. Let's go over it again. So order of variables under different quantifiers and the order of quantifiers themselves matters. Everybody loves somebody is not the same as somebody loves everybody. Not everybody is the sun. And also, order in which you put variables in the predicate matters as well. X loves y is very different from y loves x, or x is loved by y. Everyone is loved by their mother is not the same as everybody has somebody to love. Well, maybe they do love their mother, but it's different. And again, putting existential quantifier in front gives you a statement where it's much harder to find an example. Because for everybody to find somebody that they love, well, give me a person and I'll ask their person what they like. But to find somebody who loves everybody on Earth, well, that's a much tougher call. To find somebody who is loved by everybody, that's rare. Okay. So also notice that the names of variables don't matter as long as you're consistent. As long as every time you use x, you use x, or every time you use y, you mean to use y, you use y. You could give them completely different names. And again, as long as you're using the same variable in, say, for all quantifier and the first variable in the loves and the second variable under existential quantifier and the second variable in loves, you get the same statement. So for all x exists y loves xy is exactly the same as for all y exists x loves y x. All our x's became y and all our y's became x's. We could call them something completely different. For every person 1, there exists person 2 loves person 1, person 2. And we could do the same thing in all the other formulas, like in the Elvis formula, there exists x for all y loves yx, or there exists y for all x loves xy, are the same things. So far we talked about scenarios where we had two different quantifiers. This was the interesting case, but you may be wondering what happens if we use two of the same quantifiers. So let's look at what happens when we use the same quantifier. Actually, with the same quantifier, order of quantifiers doesn't really matter. Everybody loves everybody. Well, everybody loves everybody. Similarly, there is somebody who loves somebody. Well, we could call the first person x and the second person y, or the other way around. It doesn't really change things. Well, you could say somebody is loved by somebody, but again, it would have the same meaning. It's enough to find person x, who is the one who loves, and the person y, who is the one being loved. And you know what? It's entirely possible that x is equal to y. Why not? Somebody may just love themselves. For everybody loves everybody, well, let's say it's a happy family where all the children like each other and like their parents, and parents like each other and like the children. And it really doesn't matter in which order you list who loves whom. They all do. So let's summarize. We looked at 6 different scenarios with the differences were the quantifiers, their order, and the order of variables in the predicates. So the first one was everybody loves somebody. For all x, there exists y loves xy. That's the people in general scenario. A very different one was somebody loves everybody. There exists x such that for all y loves xy. The only difference is instead of having for all and then exist, we have exist and then for all. Now we are in the sun scenario. Only the sun shines on everyone. Now let's look at the pair where we switch the order of x and y in the predicate and leave everything else the same. Everybody is loved by somebody, but by their mother. For all x, there exists a y. For every x, that x has their mother. Very different from there is somebody who is loved by everyone, maybe Elvis. And the last 2 scenarios that we considered were the ones where both quantifiers were the same. If both quantifiers were universal, we had a happy family scenario where everybody loves everybody. And where both scenarios are, where both quantifiers are existential, we had kind of a pessimistic version of the very first scenario. There is at least somebody out there who loves, well, somebody, maybe even themselves.